Many of Hollywood's brightest stars, once admired and celebrated by millions, ended their lives in poverty and obscurity. Despite their fame and wealth, some fell through the cracks of fortune, facing hardships that stripped them of everything. Behind the glamorous image, these actors battled personal struggles, financial mismanagement, or health issues that left them destitute. Sometimes they faced betrayal from those around them, or made choices that sabotaged their careers. Others encountered unexpected misfortune, illness, or addiction that drained their resources. Their stories reveal a side of Hollywood rarely seen, one of vulnerability and loss. These migrants from fame to despair remind us that fame can be fleeting, and that even the most beloved stars are vulnerable to life's harsh realities. Their lives serve as powerful lessons on the dangers of excess, the importance of resilience, and the unpredictable nature of success. As we explore their stories, we see how quickly fortunes can turn, and how fame does not guarantee happiness or security. After reaching the pinnacle of Hollywood success, Burt Reynolds became the highest-grossing actor in the world during the 1970s and 80s. Known for his effortless charm, tough guy image, and natural talent for comedy, Reynolds became a household name through movies like Smokey and The Bandit, Deliverance, and The Longest Yard. During his prime, he commanded large sums of money for each film, owned several properties, and even bought his own professional football team. However, behind this glamorous image, his financial foundation was unstable. Reynolds made poor investments, such as opening a chain of restaurants that failed, and owning a struggling theater in Florida. He also lived a lavish lifestyle, buying private jets, ranches, and luxury items without fully considering the long-term costs. His marriage to actress Lainey Anderson, which started out glamorous, ended bitterly and expensive, draining more of his money. By the early 1990s, Reynolds was unable to pay his bills, declaring bankruptcy with over $10 million in debt. As a result, he had to sell many valuable possessions, including his beloved estate. In the following years, he took smaller acting roles to stay in the industry, but never regained his previous financial success. Despite a comeback with the movie Boogie Nights, which earned him an Oscar nomination, he never fully recovered his wealth. When he died in 2018, reports revealed he was still struggling financially. His story reminds us how quickly fame and fortune can disappear, even for the most popular stars. Despite his reputation as Hollywood's most charming and daring actor, Errol Flynn's life was full of contradictions and struggles. Known for his handsome face, fearless attitude, and captivating personality, Flynn became a star through movies like Captain Blood and The Adventures of Robin Hood, where he captured the imagination of audiences and became a symbol of adventure and romance. However, off the screen, his life was quite different. He was known as a womanizer and heavy drinker, living an extravagant lifestyle that included buying yachts, estates, and hosting lavish parties. His life was filled with controversy, including scandals that included a high-profile statutory rape trial in 1943. Even though he was found not guilty, the trial hurt his reputation greatly. The ongoing legal battles, high expenses from divorces, and his lavish lifestyle drained his money quickly. As time went on, and his youthful good looks faded, finding acting roles became more difficult. Lieutenant trying to keep his financial stability, Flynn leased his beloved yacht in Vancouver, hoping to earn some income. Tragically, in 1959, at just 50 years old, he suffered a fatal heart attack while on the yacht. By then, he was in deep debt, with his estate loaded with tax liens and unresolved lawsuits. The man who once heroically battled on screen as a swashbuckling figure died broken and broke, leaving behind a legacy that was both glamorous and tragic. Although Florence Ballard was the original powerhouse behind the Supremes, her story is one of talent and tragedy. She had a strong, soulful voice and magnetic presence that helped build the foundation of one of the most successful groups in music history. During the early 1960s, her voice was crucial to the group's unique sound, and her performance helped set the stage for their many hits that would become classics. Despite her vital role, internal tensions grew within the group, especially as Diana Ross was pushed to the front. Over time, Florence's role diminished, and in 1967, under pressure from Motown leadership, she was forced out of the group she helped create. She signed away her rights to the name The Supremes for a small settlement, which meant she received little recognition or royalties from the group's later success. Meanwhile, Diana Ross became a solo star, but Florence's life took a downward turn. She sank into depression and struggled to provide for her family, relying on welfare checks to survive. Her attempt to launch a solo career was plagued by legal troubles, health issues, and lack of industry support, making it difficult for her to find success. She battled alcoholism and faced severe financial difficulties, even facing eviction from her home. Despite a brief moment of hope when she performed at a small show in the mid-1970s, she never regained her former fame. Tragically, at the age of just 32, Florence died of a heart attack in 1976. Her tragic journey inspired the character of Effie White in the film Dreamgirls, symbolizing a talent lost to a system that threw her aside when she was no longer useful. Her life remains a poignant reminder of the highs and lows experienced by many artists during Hollywood's golden age. Despite having one of Hollywood's longest and most prolific careers, Mickey Rooney faced a difficult end that many do not see behind the bright lights of fame. From the silent film era to the 2010s, Rooney appeared in over 300 films and many television shows, making him one of the most active actors in Hollywood history. When he was a young man, he was the highest-paid actor in America because of his popularity with the Andy Hardy series, which made him a household name. His talent for comedy, music, and drama allowed him to work with legendary stars like Judy Garland and Elizabeth Taylor, earning him fame and admiration from audiences and colleagues alike. However, despite his professional success, Rooney's personal life was filled with chaos and challenges. He was married 8 times, and each divorce brought more legal costs that added to his financial problems. He trusted the wrong people with his money, falling into traps set by family members and caretakers who mismanaged his finances or even defrauded him. At one point, Rooney said he was left with just a few dollars despite earning millions during his career. As he aged, Rooney used his voice to speak out against elder abuse, sharing his struggles with financial and emotional exploitation. His last years were marked by a simple, modest way of living, far from the glamour and fame of his youth. When he died in 2014 at age 93, his estate was reportedly worth less than $20,000. Friends and fans came together to pay for a modest grave in Hollywood Forever Cemetery. His career, which lasted nearly a century, reminds us all that wealth and fame do not always protect a person from hardship or misfortune. After being discovered by Walt Disney himself, Bobby Driscoll became a shining star in Hollywood during the late 1940s and early 1950s. He was a talented young actor whose charm and skill made him a favorite in many films. He starred in movies like Song of the South and Treasure Island, and he is perhaps best known for providing both the voice and the live-action model for Disney's Peter Pan. For his outstanding performances as a child, he received a special Juvenile Academy Award, an honor that recognized his promise and talent at a young age. However, as Bobby Driscoll grew older, things began to change. The Hollywood industry that had once celebrated him grew cold and distant. His voice and appearance changed during puberty, and he found fewer roles available. Disney ended his contract without warning, leaving him suddenly without the career he once had. The rejection deeply hurt him, and he turned to drugs in his teenage years, starting with heroin. His addiction worsened, leading to criminal arrests and a troubled life. Despite attempts at rehabilitation, Bobby's struggles with substance abuse and mental health problems continued. He even tried to reinvent himself in New York, associating with figures like Andy Warhol, but his demons followed him. In 1968, Bobby Driscoll died alone in an abandoned building in the East Village. His body was found with no identification, so he was buried in an unmarked grave on Hart Island, a pauper's grave. It was only a year later that his mother contacted Disney, seeking clues about him, and his remains were finally identified. Once a child destined for fame, his life ended in tragedy, discarded and forgotten, showing how fleeting Hollywood's loyalty can be, and serving as a somber reminder of the cost of early fame. After gaining fame as a beautiful blonde actress, Barbara Payton quickly became a well-known face in Hollywood. Her rise to stardom happened rapidly when she starred in the film Kiss Tomorrow Goodbye alongside the legendary James Cagney. For a brief time, there was hope that she would become a lasting star, a true Hollywood legend, because her talent and beauty made her stand out. Yet, her success was short-lived because her personal life was filled with turmoil. She was involved in scandalous relationships and made reckless choices that hurt her career. Her love triangle with actors Franchot Tone and Tom Neal created tabloid headlines. The situation worsened when she assaulted Tone so severely that he ended up in a coma, which damaged her reputation even more. As her fame faded, she struggled with alcohol and barbiturates, becoming addicted and falling deeper into despair. To get money, she turned to sex work, which led her to jail multiple times and caused her life to spiral out of control. She faced many hardships, including homelessness and health problems, and her once bright future slipped away. In 1967, at only 39 years old, Barbara Payton died alone from heart and liver failure. Her story is a heartbreaking example of how quickly fame can fade and how personal struggles can overshadow talent, leaving behind a tragic tale of lost potential and despair. Despite becoming one of Hollywood's first true child superstars, Jackie Coogan's life took a tragic turn. Discovered by the legendary Charlie Chaplin, Coogan gained fame and popularity with his role in The Kid, a silent film made in 1921 that is still remembered today as a classic. He was only a young boy, but had already earned millions from movies, endorsements, and public appearances, becoming a symbol of innocence, joy, and childhood during the exciting but chaotic Roaring '20s. However, this early success came with a heavy price. When Coogan grew older, he learned that most of his money had been taken by his mother and stepfather, who claimed the earnings were gifts, not wages. This betrayal devastated him because he had believed the money was his to keep. Outraged, Coogan sued his parents, leading to a court case that resulted in the passage of the California Child Actors Bill, also called the Coogan Act. This law was created to protect future child performers and their earnings from being misused. Although the law made a difference for others in the industry, it did not help Coogan recover the fortune he had lost. He served in the military during World War II, and later found regular work in television. One of his most famous roles was Uncle Fester in the 1960s TV show The Addams Family. Still, despite his long acting career, the financial success of his childhood remained a distant memory. Coogan's story is a sad tale of fame and betrayal, but it also marked a significant change that protected many young actors from suffering the same fate. His life was marked by pain and loss, yet his suffering helped improve the lives of others in Hollywood. Despite her fame and the unforgettable soundtrack she provided, Judy Garland's life was filled with hardship that overshadowed her musical achievements. From a young age, she was thrown into the spotlight and made to perform under the strict and often cruel control of the studio system. During the 1930s and 1940s, MGM kept her on a tight schedule, managing her diet and appearance meticulously. To keep her energetic and thin, they introduced her to amphetamines, a drug that she relied on for many years. This dependency caused her great harm and made her health worse over time. Her voice, which gave her so much fame, was complemented by her warm smile and lovable personality, but behind that was a girl who faced enormous pressure and stress. Garland's personal life was full of sorrow. She was married 5 times, and each marriage had its troubles, including infidelity, financial problems, or instability. She had difficulty managing her money, and her unscrupulous agents and unpaid taxes pushed her further into debt. Even when she was at her most popular, she had to work very hard with long, exhausting performance schedules just to survive financially. By the time she died in 1969 at the age of 47, her life had taken a tragic turn. She had been living in a rented house in London with almost no money left, and her funeral was paid for by friends who cared about her. Although the world mourned the loss of a talented star who had given so much joy through her performances, few truly understood how much she suffered behind the scenes. Her soundtrack and career brought her fame, but her personal struggles and tragic end revealed a different, more painful story. Following his remarkable boxing career, Joe Louis faced many struggles that overshadowed his achievements. Known as the Brown Bomber, Louis was one of the greatest heavyweight champions in history, holding the title for nearly 12 years, and defeating legendary opponents like Max Schmeling in 1938, a victory seen as a symbol of democracy fighting fascism. His fights were more than just sporting events. They made him a national hero and a beacon of hope for many Americans, especially African Americans facing discrimination. Despite this, Louis' life after boxing was marked by financial hardship caused by his generous nature and poor financial decisions. He helped his family and friends and donated heavily to military charities during World War II. However, the IRS did not forgive taxes on his exhibition matches, and because Louis did not understand the complex world of taxes and investments, shady advisors led him into bad deals. As interest and penalties piled up, his debts grew into millions that he could never pay. To make ends meet, Louis took strange jobs that conflicted with his past fame. He refereed wrestling matches, appeared as a casino greeter, and even worked at Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas. Despite his dignified appearance in public, he suffered from depression, substance abuse, and feelings of betrayal by those he trusted. When he died in 1981, he still owed the government money, and his debt was never forgiven. With help from President Ronald Reagan, Louis was buried with full military honors at Arlington National Cemetery. His legacy in sports remains. Still, his life serves as a painful reminder of how even great heroes can fall into hardship, and how much support they might need, but often do not receive, especially for black athletes in America. Despite her extraordinary talent, and the emotional power in her voice, Billie Holiday's life was filled with tragedy and hardship. Her singing was unlike anything others had heard before, haunting and raw with deep expression. Songs like Strange Fruit and God Bless the Child went beyond simple music, becoming powerful messages about injustice, pain, and strength. She came from very difficult beginnings, growing up in poverty and experiencing trauma early in life. Yet, she rose to become one of the most influential jazz singers in history. At the same time, her personal life was marked by betrayal and systemic abuse. She started using drugs and alcohol at a young age to help deal with the harsh realities she faced, including racism, sexism, and exploitation. Despite her fame, she was often arrested for drug possession, and authorities tried to silence her because of her political songs, especially Strange Fruit, which told the story of lynching in America. Instead of gaining respect, she was blacklisted from many places she once performed, driving her into financial hardship. During her last days, she was hospitalized for liver and heart problems, but even then, she was treated cruelly. Police officers placed her under arrest while she was in bed, handcuffing her, and not letting her visitors see her. She died in 1959, at only 44 years old, with just 70 cents in her bank account, and no earnings from her recordings, which had made others rich. Still, her music left a lasting legacy, and she remains a vital part of American cultural history. Her story reminds us how society can treat its most talented and important voices with cruelty and neglect. Despite her fame and beauty, Lana Turner's life was filled with ups and downs. She was born into Hollywood royalty, known for her striking blonde hair, mysterious charm, and sensual presence that drew audiences for decades. She was discovered at a soda fountain, which sounds like a fairy tale beginning. Soon, she became one of MGM's biggest stars, starring in famous movies like The Postman Always Rings Twice and Peyton Place. Her career was full of success, but her personal life was often filled with drama. She married 7 times and had many struggles outside of her films. In 1958, a shocking event happened when her young daughter Cheryl Crane stabbed her boyfriend, Johnny Stompanato, who was a mobster, in a case that was ruled as self-defense. This incident made headlines everywhere and almost harmed her career, but Lana Turner managed to bounce back and continued to act well into her later years. She was smart about her money and kept her finances in good shape, unlike many other stars who faced financial ruin. Later in life, she lived modestly and avoided long-term habits that could damage her health. When she died in 1995 from throat cancer, she left behind a well-organized estate and a legacy as a resilient woman who faced many hardships. Her story is a testament to her strength, survival, and dignity, despite the glamour and turmoil of Hollywood's golden age. Roscoe Arbuckle was one of the first true superstars of Hollywood's silent film era. Known for his comedic brilliance, Arbuckle became a household name in the 1910s. He was loved for his unique style, which combined physical comedy with a gentle, affable nature. Arbuckle worked alongside some of the biggest names of the time, including Buster Keaton, and was a mentor to rising stars like Bob Hope. His immense popularity led to a fortune, earning him a huge salary that was unheard of in those days. However, his career took a devastating turn in 1921. At a party in a San Francisco hotel, aspiring actress Virginia Rappe was found unconscious and later died. Arbuckle was accused of raping and killing her, sparking a media frenzy. Despite being acquitted after 3 trials, the damage to his reputation was irreversible. The press vilified him, and the public turned against him. Hollywood, eager to distance itself from the scandal, blacklisted him from the industry. Arbuckle's wealth, once spent on luxury, was now depleted by legal fees and years of lost work. To make a living, he turned to directing under a pseudonym, working behind the scenes. In the early 1930s, he was given a chance at a comeback. He signed a contract with Warner Brothers to star in a new feature film, signaling a potential return to his former glory. But tragically, on the very day the contract was signed, he died in his sleep from a heart attack at just 46 years old. He passed away in debt, his career tarnished, and his legacy overshadowed by a scandal he was never proven guilty of. Despite his pioneering contributions to comedy and film, he became more remembered for the allegations that marred his life than for the beloved actor he once was. After gaining fame as the king of rock and roll, Elvis Presley became one of the most famous and influential musicians of all time. His early performances in the 1950s excited crowds and changed the music scene forever. Elvis's music, style, and energetic stage shows made him a true cultural icon. Beyond his music, he worked in movies and had successful Vegas shows that made him even more well-known. During his career, Elvis earned a lot of money and lived a life full of luxury. He gave Cadillacs to friends and strangers, owned many houses, and surrounded himself with a large group called the Memphis Mafia, who were always with him. He also bought expensive jewelry, private jets, and kept up the costly upkeep of Graceland, his famous mansion. Over time, this extravagant lifestyle drained much of his wealth. His longtime manager, Colonel Tom Parker, played a big role in this because he signed deals that benefited himself more than Elvis. Parker's choices, like selling Elvis's international rights and making him perform many shows in Las Vegas, caused Elvis to lose a lot of money. By the time Elvis died in 1977, he was struggling with prescription drug problems and not as wealthy as before. Despite still making money, Elvis faced financial difficulties. It was his ex-wife, Priscilla Presley, who helped save his legacy after his death. She decided to open Graceland to visitors, turning it into a major attraction that kept Elvis' memory alive and provided ongoing income for their daughter, Lisa Marie Presley. Thanks to her efforts, Elvis's estate remained strong long after his death, showing how careful management kept his financial power alive. Certainly, after achieving fame and widespread admiration during the 1920s, Barbara Lamar's life took a tragic turn that highlights the darker side of Hollywood's golden age. Once celebrated as a silent film star, with the nickname "The Girl Who Is Too Beautiful," she quickly gained fame for her striking looks and dramatic acting style. With over 30 films to her name in just a few years, she became a young woman admired and coveted by many in the industry. However, her rapid rise to stardom was overshadowed by her intensely hectic lifestyle and personal struggles. She was known for attending many parties in a single night, often staying awake for days, which took a toll on her health. Her romantic life was full of scandals, and she married 5 times, all while battling substance abuse and unhealthy dieting, which worsened her physical and mental condition. The intense pressure of performing, coupled with the physical and emotional demands of Hollywood, gradually weakened her health. In 1925, when she was only in her 20s, she collapsed while working on a film set and never fully recovered. She died just a year later, at the age of 29, from tuberculosis and nephritis, illnesses that her weakened body could no longer fight. At the time of her death, she was deeply in debt, despite her early success, because she had spent more than she earned and received little money from her films after their release. Her death marked the end of a promising young star whose life was cut short by the very industry that had made her famous. Despite her early death, her image continued to influence and inspire, but her story reveals the tragic toll Hollywood's glamorous facade often concealed. She became a symbol of the cost of fame, and her brief life remains one of Hollywood's most poignant tragedies. Despite her fame as a child star, Darla Hood's life took a different path than many actors from Hollywood's golden age who faced poverty later in life. During the 1930s, she became a beloved figure because of her role in The Little Rascals, also known as Our Gang. Her expressive face and lively personality made her a favorite among audiences who watched her sing and act with natural charm. She was known for her sharp wit and bright singing voice, which helped her stand out and made her a household name during the difficult times of the Great Depression. Unlike many child actors of her time who struggled with scandal or financial hardship, after their early fame ended, Darla managed to stay in the entertainment world in a different role. When the Our Gang series ended, she did not disappear from the spotlight, but instead turned to music and voiceover work. Fans saw her in commercials and on television, and she kept working in entertainment throughout her adult years. The skills she developed as a performer helped her maintain a stable life, which was rare among former child stars who often faced neglect or ruin. Sadly, her life was suddenly cut short at age 47 when she contracted hepatitis after a routine appendix surgery from a blood transfusion. Her death shocked many of her fans because she was not living in poverty or distress. She was a rare example of a child star who managed to handle her fame with dignity and resilience, choosing a modest but fulfilling life away from the chaos that affected so many of her peers. Unfortunately, Darla Hood's story is also a reminder of how early fame can sometimes end in tragedy, even when the person appears to be doing well. While the stories of Hollywood's once glamorous actors who died in poverty remind us of the fragile nature of fame and fortune, they also highlight the importance of resilience and support. These actors dedicate their lives to entertaining others, yet many struggled with personal challenges that money and fame could not fix. Their lives show us that success can be temporary, and that without proper planning, even the most famous can fall into hardship. Their stories encourage us to remember the value of kindness, careful management of wealth, and the need for community and support systems. These lessons remain relevant today, reminding everyone that behind the shining stars are human beings who face struggles like anyone else. Understanding their lives helps us appreciate the importance of compassion, humility, and the ongoing effort to support those who have contributed so much to entertainment and culture. Seeing their struggles can inspire us to be more mindful and caring in our own lives and in how we treat others. Their stories continue to teach us that no matter how bright the spotlight may be, life can be unpredictable, and lasting happiness requires more than